Welcome to today's Explainer, everyone. So, we hear a ton of wild rumors about the dark web, right? It's often called the internet's evil twin. But today, we're going to cut straight through all that noise to totally demystify this hidden layer of the web. No rumors, no urban legends. We're relying purely on documented facts, court cases, and real investigations to figure out exactly what happens when total anonymity meets human nature. Let's dive right in.
For a really long time, both law enforcement and the general public pretty much dismissed the most chilling stories about the deep web as pure fiction. I mean, hitmen-for-hire, live-streamed crimes, it all sounded way more like the plot of a Hollywood thriller than actual reality. But the really uncomfortable truth we're uncovering today is how digital platforms took those myths and turned them into terrifyingly real, multi-million-dollar industries.
Okay, here's our game plan for today. We've got 6 main areas to cover: hitmen-for-hire, the mystery box trend, the reality of red rooms, kidnapping and identity theft, inside the CyberBunker, and finally, the fall of AlphaBay. We're basically going to start with individual threats and scale all the way up to massive global criminal networks.
So let's start with Section 1, hitmen-for-hire.
You know, hitmen have been around for centuries, but hiring one used to mean risking a super dangerous face-to-face meeting in the criminal underworld. You literally had to know a guy who knew a guy. Well, the dark web completely changed all that. Sites started popping up that looked like an Etsy for hitmen. We're talking drop-down menus to choose how the harm would be done, customer reviews, even same-day options. At first, police just assumed these were elaborate scams to steal cryptocurrency, but then we have this number: $5,500. Back in 2018, that exact amount in Bitcoin was paid on a highly popular dark website called Bessa Mafia. A client uploaded a photo and the location of a U.S. Army soldier named Brian, requesting his death look like an accident. Just 11 days later, Brian was found lifeless in his home. No signs of forced entry, but his computer and phone were completely gone. This sent absolute shockwaves through law enforcement. The impossible had just happened. An online hit order actually worked.
Tragically, Brian's case was for sure not an isolated incident. Just a few months later, a guy named Yaroslav paid 15 grand on the dark web to eliminate a Moscow police detective named Yevgenia. Less than a month after that transaction cleared, a hitman stepped out of the shadows right outside her home and took her life. But because she was a detective, her unit absolutely relentlessly pursued the digital trail. It took a massive amount of effort, but they finally tracked down and arrested both the shooter and the guy who ordered it. Law enforcement basically had to accept this chilling new reality. Ending a human life could now be ordered from a laptop, literally, with the same ease as ordering a pizza.
All right, moving on to Section 2, the mystery box trend.
This trend is so bizarre because the danger wasn't a targeted hit. It was a blind purchase driven entirely by morbid curiosity. You probably remember when mystery boxes started on eBay around 2017. You paid $10 to $50 and get a box of random, harmless junk, right? Old Pokemon cards, cheap jewelry, maybe some broken gadgets. Well, the dark web took that innocent concept and twisted it entirely. Dark web mystery boxes cost hundreds, sometimes way over $1,000. And the stuff inside? Buyers documented getting vials of dark red liquid, a comb completely covered in human hair, rusty old medical tools, just incredibly disturbing stuff. This actually sparked a massive viral unboxing craze on YouTube, turning into this morbid contest to find the absolute creepiest box. The items were so alarming and honestly so hazardous that creators frequently had to stop recording and call the cops. It was this really terrifying bridge between digital curiosity and actual physical danger.
Okay, let's go to Section 3, the reality of red rooms. Unboxing weird items is one thing, but it's absolutely nothing compared to the darkest corner of digital entertainment. For years, red rooms were just internet ghost stories. Most tech experts swore they couldn't even exist because the Tor network's bandwidth was too slow. But what is a red room exactly? It is a highly restricted, private live stream where masked individuals stand around a captive target. And here is where it gets truly horrific. Once a countdown timer hits 0, a chat box unlocks. Viewers aren't just passively watching. They use cryptocurrency to request specific real-time actions. The higher the payment, the faster and more severely the crime is carried out. They are actively directing the horror.
And this myth, it became a horrifying reality with an Australian fugitive named Peter Scully. After fleeing fraud charges, he moved to the Philippines and set up a deeply disturbing red room operation, committing just unspeakable acts of abuse against vulnerable victims. He was totally convinced the dark web gave him complete immunity, but he vastly underestimated law enforcement. When investigators finally got hold of his footage, they didn't just look for IP addresses.
They executed this brilliant forensic analysis, studying the background furniture, window reflections, and literally the style of the electrical outlets on the wall frame by frame, to pinpoint his location. In 2015, authorities raided his compound, finding 900 videos of evidence. Scully was sentenced to life in prison, immediately ending his illusion of invisibility.
Next up, Section 4, Kidnapping and Identity Theft.
The dark web isn't just lone monsters. It enables highly organized groups. Take the incredibly bizarre 2017 case of the Black Death. A 20-year-old British model named Chloe Ayling traveled to Italy for a photo shoot, but she was drugged and abducted. Her captors claimed to be from the Black Death, which was supposedly this massive deep web human trafficking syndicate, and they demanded a $300,000 ransom. But then, the story takes a wildly unexpected turn. A week later, one of her captors, a guy named Herba, inexplicably decides to just release her. He drives her to the British consulate, drops her off, and actually hands her a business card for the group. He claimed they had rules against kidnapping mothers. Herba was arrested and got 16 years, but he was a known pathological liar. So experts are still fiercely debating this today. Is the Black Death a real, coordinated global network, or is it just an elaborate myth, a convenient boogeyman used by lone criminals to terrify their victims?
But it gets even scarier when average, everyday people are targeted just to be used as a shield. In 2018, a Norwegian woman disappeared, and the kidnappers demanded a $10 million ransom entirely in crypto. Police diligently traced that crypto wallet directly to a 29-year-old man named Henrik G. They arrested him, thinking, boom, we cracked the case. But Henrik had an airtight alibi. He had absolutely no idea what was going on. When investigators dug deeper, they realized the actual kidnappers just went on the dark web, bought Henrik's stolen identity, and used it to open the crypto account. They perfectly framed a totally innocent guy. It was a digital smokescreen. If the police followed the money, it wouldn't lead to the criminals. It led to a complete dead end. And tragically, because of that tactic, the true culprits were never caught.
Let's look at Section 5, Inside the CyberBunker.
So, with all these horrific things happening, you've got to wonder, how do these websites actually stay online? Usually, if police find the servers, they just unplug them. Well, a guy named Johan decided to solve that problem for criminals globally. Johan believed in absolute total internet freedom, no rules, no exceptions. To protect dark websites from routine police raids, he launched a hosting company called CyberBunker. When Dutch authorities tried to investigate a tiny fire on the property, Johan actually cited a 1960 UN resolution to declare his company an independent sovereign nation. He literally told the police they had zero jurisdiction on his land.
And the craziest part is, he actually had the physical fortress to back up that ridiculous claim. CyberBunker was housed inside a literal Cold War-era nuclear bunker in the Netherlands. It was a subterranean maze of concrete walls. In 2007, a Dutch SWAT team actually tried to execute a search warrant there. It was a disaster for them. They couldn't pick the complex locks, and when they brought out a heavy battering ram, it literally bounced right off the massive steel blast doors. The SWAT team had to retreat empty-handed. This made CyberBunker an absolute legend on the dark web. It operated as a secure haven for years, right up until 2019. That's when a massive hack on a German telecom company was traced directly back to Johann's servers, finally giving German police the leverage to raid the facility and end this multi-million-dollar shield for criminals.
And that brings us to our final chapter, Section 6, The Fall of AlphaBay.
When you combine secure servers, untraceable crypto, and total freedom, you get the ultimate dark web economy. AlphaBay was built by a brilliant computer expert named Alexandre Cazes. He looked at the FBI taking down the famous Silk Road and basically thought, they just got careless. I can do this better. He launched AlphaBay to be highly professional. Just look at this inventory list. This wasn't some clunky, hard-to-use site. It had search bars, user reviews, shopping carts, even a dedicated dispute resolution center. You could buy forged passports, stolen credit cards, malware, firearms, and explosives, all seamlessly delivered through this sleek Amazon-like interface. By late 2015, AlphaBay wasn't just a marketplace, it was an empire. To put this into perspective, it was generating $500 million every single year. It had 40,000 vendors and hundreds of thousands of active users. It was 10 times the size the Silk Road ever was. Cazes was living large under the alias Alpha02, buying a luxury condo in Bangkok, driving a $1 million Lamborghini, totally convinced his anonymity was bulletproof. But you know, no system is perfectly secure if the human running it makes a mistake. In late 2016, the FBI got a golden tip from one of AlphaBay's earliest users. When the site first launched, every new user got an automated welcome email. Well, the fatal flaw?
That very first automated email was accidentally set up using Alexandre Cazes' real personal email address. That one single careless digital footprint from the site's infancy allowed the FBI to track his entire daily routine. In July 2017, agents raided his Bangkok condo and caught him with his laptop wide open, logged directly into AlphaBay as the supreme administrator. They seized the servers and dismantled the largest dark web marketplace in history, all because a tech genius forgot to use a burner email.
And that really brings us to the core lesson of this whole explainer. The dark web didn't invent hitmen or kidnappings or contraband. Humans have been doing that stuff for centuries. But the dark web completely removed the physical friction. It removed the danger of the face-to-face meeting and totally stripped away the societal guardrails. It shows us exactly what happens when the darkest parts of human nature are given a beautifully designed user interface and total anonymity. So I want to leave you with this final thought. If technology can strip away all the rules and all the consequences, what does that actually reveal about what we are capable of? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Stay curious and stay safe out there.